Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm GC Smith, and welcome to another Eldritch Moon spoiler video. And I'm so flabbergasted that we've still been getting spoilers this week, especially when we were told Monday was the only day we're getting spoilers, and we weren't getting many. And I've just been so excited. We've had so many good spoilers this week so far. They've all been very flavourful, and while not many of them have been hugely impactful, today's spoiler, I think, will definitely be a playable card, depending on what half of the card is. Because I say we've got a spoiler, but it's really only half a spoiler, and this is Hanweir, the Writhing Township. This is the transformed side of whatever card is on the front, and it's a legendary creature, Eldrazi Ooze. It's a 7/4 with trample and haste, and whenever Hanweir, the Writhing Township attacks, you put 2/3/2 colourless Eldrazi horror creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Now, since we don't have a mana cost, it's really hard to evaluate this card, especially since we also don't know how you transform it to this side of the card. But there are several things we need to consider, and we're going to be taking this step by step. So first things first, this card is an Eldrazi Ooze, which I think is really good because it kind of suggests that we're not going to be just getting regular Eldrazi this set, and that all the Eldrazi are going to be kind of transformed creatures from Innistrad, or transformed people from Innistrad, which I really love the idea of, because I don't want to see more Scions. I don't want to see little Eldrazi spawns. I really want this to be a more Eldritch horror, cultists becoming the things that they serve, that kind of thing. And the stories and everything we've seen so far has suggested that, which makes this a really flavour home wing for me. I really like the idea of this being actual horror and not just traditional Battle for Zendikar style Eldrazi, which never really felt horrific, even though they were meant to be kind of based on Cthulhu, which is a shame because Cthulhu was actually scary. The idea of Cthulhu can be actually considered fairly scary, so that's quite good to see. Next, I really like the fact that this card is also a legendary creature. You know, it really helps hit the flavour home run that this is Hanweir, the town that we've been exposed to as part of all of the spoilers for Shadows of Innistrad, with the kind of like handwritten newspaper clippings. And you know, there's only one Hanweir, and it kind of helps really cement this as a very flavourful card, if not very powerful. However, there is some element to raw power here, and we kind of see that in its keywords. It has trample and haste, and we're going to talk about trample in a second, but haste here is really, really interesting, because the only reason for this card to have haste is if you can transform it the turn it comes down, which means it's either a very expensive card with transformed situations that you should be able to meet at that stage of the game, like a sacrifice a creature or whatever, or it's a card with a huge deal of control about how you trigger it. So maybe it's you play this and another creature at the same time, which means this could be incredibly cheap or something. Basically, we know there has to be some way of triggering its transform the turn you play it, because otherwise haste is completely pointless if it's unless you, the player, have some control about if it's triggered. You know, if it's just whenever a target creature dies, transform it, well, they can just kill it in end step, and haste, you know, would never matter. So there has to be some element of control from your half, which is a huge bit of information about a card, because the ability to transform it yourself under your control is incredibly powerful. One of the weakest things about werewolves is they don't transform the turn you play them, obviously because you cast the spell that turn, and whether or not they transform from that point onwards either depends on your opponent, in which case the cards can end up being very punishing. But if they're able to play stuff and stop you transforming, you then have to not play anything for a turn to cause it to transform and get the full power of the card, which sometimes can be good. There have been werewolves printed that you can actually still spend mana, such as the recruiter that's currently in the format, and you can also run a few instants with them. There have been a few cards designed to help you play with that theme, like the flash enchantment that gives all wolves and werewolves you control +2/+2 or whatever. But the reality of the situation is that werewolves and that kind of transform trigger is often incredibly bad, and the ones that see play are the ones that either have huge enter the battlefield or transform abilities, or just incredibly undercosted and have other good parts to them. That effectively you could play them without them ever being a werewolf, right? The recruiter you'd probably be able to play without being a werewolf, simply because it's a 2/2 for 2, that you can draw more cards with in green, which is incredibly silly in my opinion, green getting such card advantage. And then if it does transform because your opponent didn't play anything, you then get to punish your opponent even harder by, playing spells for cheap. And if you then take turn, say 3 or 4 off to allow it to transform, you can then cast something like Avacyn and flash things in, so you still get to use your mana. It's just such an incredibly good version of a werewolf, but often they're generally not that playable overall. Even though I remember when I first started playing the game, werewolves were incredibly powerful with one of the decks I played against. I always struggled with it, but that was because I didn't know how to A, play a deck, B, build a deck, or C, really play the game that well. Obviously, I have a much greater understanding now than I did then, though I still have a lot to learn, as every player does, I think. But no, yeah, being able to transform it at your command is such a good benefit that really, I think, makes this card seem more playable than I would if this just had trample. And it also gives us a lot more information about the front side in sort of guesswork or prediction. Next up, it has trample, obviously, we've already said that, but I really like the fact that it's got trample, especially with a 7/4 body. This is a card that, even if you only get 1 attack in, because 4 toughness isn't necessarily that great in this format, it still pretty much trades with everything. Not anything really has more than 7 toughness. The largest toughness of any real creature in this format is 7, and that's a World Breaker, right? This is a card that allows you to attack into World Breaker and trade, which is great. And on any creature that has lesser toughness, even if you trade, you still get points of power in. Then it has the added ability of giving you 2 creature tokens that are 3/2s that stay around for long periods of time because they don't disappear at the end of turn, which makes this card even more punishing because on its own it assembles an army that swings for 7 and straight away for 16 power. This isn't a 7/4. This is, if it attacks, a 16/10, right, over 3 bodies, and that's incredibly powerful, right? One of them and one of those bodies has trample. This is just such a great card in terms of this side that if this was, say, 4 mana, 5 mana, it would see play. I mean, 6 mana, you'd probably stop seeing play, but at 5 mana, this would totally see play at 5 mana. 5 generic mana for 7/4 that gives you 2 3/2s that don't disappear. Yeah, that's very, very good value on this creature. And so the front side kind of has to be terrible for this not to see play. Right? The fact that we know you can control the transform trigger because otherwise haste is pointless. We know that it's incredibly powerful on this side, and it's a legendary creature. I don't know. This seems like one of those kind of flavor cards, but it's just such a home win in power as well. I don't know. I just really, really, really love this card. I definitely hope I get to play it with it at the pre-release, simply because of the flavour and the power on this side, and B, I just hope it's a playable card. I know its number probably puts it in terms of black or red in the colour in the segments, which kind of goes against my mentality as control, well, in some way. But this is definitely a card I would love to play myself. It just seems so fun. Plus, I can't wait to see what the Eldrazi horror tokens are. So yeah, that's my look at Hanweir, the Writhing Township, the new half the card that we've been spoilt in the last 24 hours. Great card, and hopefully we'll get to see the front half of it soon, and fingers crossed that it's definitely playable. I think it might not be, but I worry it might not be. There's so many ways this can go wrong, but it's such a great looking card, and I think it can easily go very, very well. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you really like this video, and I'll see you next time.